Morning. For the record, I'm Chris Young, Chair of the HDC Sign Advisory Committee. Let's confirm access. Members, please respond with an aye when I call your name. Ben Norman.
Aye.
Kevin Kuster.
Aye.
And Paul Wolf.
Aye.
And for staff, we have Billy Sad.
Here.
Thanks. And Nikki, I apologize, your last
Here.
name.
Sheriff. Here.
Sheriff, thank you. I got to commit that to memory. Thank you. This open meeting of the HDC's SAC is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020. That order, posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allow public bodies to convene remotely so long as public access to deliberations is reasonably provided. This meeting is convening via Zoom with video and audio recording, and we are being broadcast via YouTube on the town's YouTube channel. With members of public present, we will feature their comments. Materials provided to members for the meeting or provided during the meeting are, unless otherwise noted, available on the town's website. During the meeting, I'll introduce agenda topics and speakers. Please remember to mute your Zoom audio until your name is called, and direct comments and questions through the chair to avoid crosstalk and the taking of minutes easier. Votes will be conducted by roll call. With that said, we'll call the meeting to order at 9:05 on May 14th, 2024. And do we have a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thanks, Kevin. Ben, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Paul
Aye.
and Kevin?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll move on to public comments. Is there anybody on the call that is wishing to make a comment on something other than an application before us today? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to commissioners' comments. Do any commissioners have comments they'd like to make at this time?
I'm just trying to get my camera to work on my desktop here and it's not working, so I apologize.
Okay, thanks, Ben. With no other comments, we'll move on to the first item on the agenda, which is 4 Harbor Square, the Straight Wharf Fish Market. As I said before, I'm going to recuse myself. I'm involved in this project, so I will hand the reins over to Kevin.
Okay. Who do we have on for this?
Good morning, Jonathan Kirby from Workshop APD. We are back in front of you after presenting to the HTC 2 weeks ago, receiving their comments and making those modifications. One of those comments that was also addressed during this SAC hearing 2 weeks ago was that the sign ideally could be slightly bigger to be in line with the lobster sign. That comment was also mentioned during the HTC hearing as well, so we've made that adjustment. The other concern with the original sign was the branding. It had the full business name, Straight Wharf Fish Market. Some ideas that were floated around both by the SAC and the HTC were to go with something more in line with the original lobster sign. We went back and forth as to what we could put on that, whether that be fried clams, scallops, and settled on just fish market. We feel that this does not have a branding for the company and is appropriate for the location. In addition, I just want to also point out that we do have 2 wall-mounted shielded lights, 15 watts each, on the rendering on the page before. The location of those 2 lights is shown with a black dot, one on either side of the sign.
Okay. It's scallops, not scallops, but anyway, we get it. Comments from the board, Ben?
I think we've landed on a happy medium here. I was at the HTC meeting talking about this sign, and I think if my memory serves me, that the HTC also felt that the old lobster sign was sort of quintessential, you know, I think we've hit a happy medium here, so I'm satisfied with this.
Okay, Paul?
My only, I agree with what Ben said. My only comment is the lighting. The other sign, lobster sign, was not lit, to my knowledge. is it gonna be on all night? I think the guidelines call it to be only lit when the store is open. Is that correct, Kevin?
Yeah, it is.
So I think we should probably make that provision.
Okay, is there anybody else on this? Is Mark here yet or no? I don't think so. I agree with your comments on the lighting, Paul. I really don't think it's necessary. And if it is, I don't think that those fixtures are appropriate. I think they're far too contemporary. And I think we could do better with the font. I think it's still a little contemporary looking. You know, it's you know, it is all caps. You know, I get that. But I think it could have a little more history to it. Those are my comments. Any comments or any other further comments from the board?
I would motion to approve as submitted.
Okay, all those in favor of Ben's motion to approve?
Aye,
Paul?
aye.
Ben?
Aye.
I am not. I think the lighting is inappropriate. So that passes 2-1.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Let's move on to 30 North Beach Street. Billy, do you want to give us a little background here? You mentioned there were some signs being retracted and then a new application.
Yes, thank you. I did want to speak on this because procedurally we'll have to rescind last week's vote because we did the board gave the applicant an option 1 and 2. They had 3 portico sign applications and 1 flag sign, and the board felt you could either do the 3 portico signs or 1 portico sign and a flag sign as a combination. So at the meeting, we went with the 3 portico signs, and then a day or 2 after the HDC voted that in, the applicant got a hold of me and said they wanted to go with the 1 flag and 1 portico. I believe the one facing the street, but I would let the applicant speak on that. So if you are all in favor, we'll need to rescind last week's vote and do a new vote for the 1 flag, 1 portico sign. Thank you.
So move.
I'll second.
All right, Paul, are you in favor?
Aye,
And Kevin
Aye.
and Ben?
Aye.
I am as well. So we have rescinded the votes from last week. Is the applicant on the call?
Yes, hi, good morning. Gary McCoy here.
Hi, Gary. Do we understand? Do you have anything to add, or are you basically just asking for which portico? Let's point that out first. Which of the 3 porticos is going to remain?
It would be the one facing the street on the front. You know, after we had the meeting, we had some second meeting with the client, and they had second thoughts about keeping the 3 signs and prefer to have, you know, to retain the flag and just the 1 sign on the front of the portico chair.
Okay, so why don't we just take these just procedurally one at a time? So the portico sign facing the street. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve that?
So move.
second.
I'll second.
Right. Sorry, Ben. Paul got you there. So Ben, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Paul
Aye,
and Kevin?
Aye.
Okay, thanks. So the portico facing the street is approved, and now the flag sign, which does comply with the combination and the size guidelines, incidentally, is up. Does anybody have any comments they want to make on that? We'll go Paul, Kevin, Ben.
Motion to
Yeah.
approve.
I know it meets the guidelines, so I think it has to be approved, but I still think it's wrong to have a business flag flying in the middle of a residential area. But so be it.
Okay, Kevin, before you make a motion, do you have any comment?
No, I don't.
Okay, and Ben?
No comment. I'm okay.
Okay, Kevin, you're making a motion.
Yeah, motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, Paul, you in favor?
Aye.
And Kevin
Aye.
and Ben?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That takes care of that property. Let's
Thank you,
move on
everybody.
to, thank you. Let's move on to 38 Center Street. Is anybody on the line to represent that application? Nobody's here from Sign Here Nantucket. Okay, let's open up the projecting sign
And,
for
and
review.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I had one carryover sort of copy and paste error on the agenda because the applicant did get a hold of me to withdraw number 7, the window sign. So they were only planning on moving forward with the projecting sign.
Okay, thank you. So that's on our view pack. Let's take a look at that. And we've seen this before. I think the comments were to add edge banding, and I don't believe there was anything else discussed. Is that right?
I believe the board wanted to see a more muted color on this sign because it came in as white with black lettering originally. So the updated sign, it appears that they've tried to tie in the cream sort of color of the, can't remember if it's the siding or the trim on that building, but the sign has a more cream color to it.
Can we take a look at this?
Yeah, thank you, Billy, for pointing that out. I do see the application hasn't been updated, however. It still says black and white. Is there a note somewhere where they've indicated that new background color?
That's what we would make a note of that as staff, and I apologize. I didn't make that note based on, can you, sorry.
Go ahead, Billy.
So we hang on to the actual, the physical application, so that change is made upon approval.
Okay.
Excuse me, Chris, can we
Yes,
get a visual? Can we get a
Yeah,
visual
I
of
think,
this?
Oh, can you not see my screen?
we're only
No.
seeing the
The
sort
list.
of the folder, the list. It's not opened
Oh,
up.
I apologize. Hold on, let me start over. What's going on?
There we go, thank you.
Okay, that's the existing sign. And there's the new design.
And what did we have for a border?
According to the application, it's a beveled painted black.
Okay,
So why don't we go Kevin, Ben, Paul?
I think it meets the guidelines. I don't have any more comments on that. How's the size, Chris? Is that
It does comply. It's 27 by 27, which would fit on a 2-story building.
okay?
Okay, Ben
No concerns.
and Paul.
Oh, you're muted, Paul.
Paul's muted, yeah. Still muted.
How's that?
That's better.
I said no really concerns about the sign. I'm concerned about that location having multiple other signs pasted on the windows in the past. I know it's probably a new tenant, I think. So maybe the for rent sign can go and they won't put anything else in the window. So
Well, we'll deal with that separately, but on this application, do we have any motion?
move approval.
Second,
All right, thanks, Ben. Are you in favor?
Aye.
and Paul
Aye.
and Kevin.
Aye.
All right, thank you. So that takes care of 38 Center. Let's move on to 31 Center. Is there anybody on the line to represent that application? All right, seeing nobody, why don't we pull it up? This is the across the street where the I forget the name of the business that was there, but it looks like it's replacing an existing sign that we had approved previously. This is in that courtyard where the Faraway Hotel property resides.
Chris,
Go ahead. Yes,
just
Kevin.
to comment on your introduction, we did not approve a sign in this location. We approved it by the door.
Is that correct? I thought that there was a sign. The name, it was an interesting name. It was
Yeah, they
Sure,
chose
pop up.
to, they chose to ignore what the approval was and put it where they wanted anyway.
okay. Well, thanks for pointing that out. So what is anybody on the call for this? Okay, if not, I think that's an important distinction, Kevin. We should probably pull the file or ask them to pull the file, but this was part of a master sign plan for the whole campus. So if it doesn't comply, then
Yeah, I remember
we need to address.
remember at the time we had a bit of discussion about it, but it's clearly not by an entrance. And that was why it was originally recommended to be placed where it should have been, which is by the door.
Okay, thanks for that, pointing that out. Any other, why don't we start with you? We'll go you and then Paul and Ben. Any other comments?
I think this, it's hard to tell if there's any border on this or not. But I think it's approvable if it's put, by the entrance.
Okay, Paul
I have no additional comments.
and Ben.
No, nothing to add.
Okay, thanks. It does say on the application, there's an edge banding that's the almond color of the font, suggesting that there's that border. So why don't we, I think we should hold for more. We need to know exactly what the master sign plan represents here, and short of having that in front of us, I don't think it would be smart to make a motion to approve or deny unless we can confirm.
Motion to hold for further information.
Second.
Thank you. Ben, are you in favor of that?
Aye.
And Kevin?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Okay, thank you guys. So Billy, I guess we'd like to make sure that we get a, why don't we just pull the master sign plan for that property before the next meeting if we could?
Yeah, we should have
Is that
that.
reasonable to ask?
Well, we should have that digitally saved because I believe that was just approved last summer or
Yeah,
within the
Maybe.
last year and a half. So we have a digital copy.
thank you. That'd be helpful. All right, moving forward, I believe we're on to 44 Main Street. Is anybody on the call to represent that sign? All right, seeing nobody, let's pull it up and take a look. This is replacing an oval projecting sign. The size does comply with the projecting size for a one-story storefront. Why don't we go Ben, Kevin, Paul?
Looks like we've seen this sign earlier in this meeting with some different lettering in it. But I have no objection to it.
Kevin?
I have two concerns. One is the stark whiteness of the background, and the other is I think that the font is a bit of a stretch for me, and I think it's too contemporary for this particular setting.
Okay, Paul?
I agree with exactly what Kevin just said. I don't think this is the old historic district. This is not very historic looking.
I understand where you guys are coming from. My comment would be, however, it does fall under the logo size requirement. So I'm not sure where we would have much to say about it if they want to say that that's their logo. You know, it's a tough call, but that's sort of how that would work. There's nobody representing this on the call, so we have nobody to talk to about it. What's the pleasure of the board?
I think ask for representation.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thanks. Kevin, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Ben?
I don't know what we're gonna tell them. Aye.
And Paul?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna hold that for the next meeting. Sorry, Nikki, if you could pull up what's next.
Council trust.
All right, thanks. Is anybody on the call to represent
Yes,
the
Mr.
Wisconsin
Chairman.
Trust? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, it's Rob Benchley,
Rob.
representing the Wisconsin Trust.
All right, so we have 6 applications, it looks like. Why don't you give us the overhead view here? And we'll look at each one. So go ahead, Rob, you have the floor. Introduce us to
Okay, thank you very much,
package.
Mr. Chairman. All these applications represent changes in the existing signs that are there. They were put up in 2009, and the weather has done some things to the signs themselves, and we have new information to share with our visitors. And the color schemes have changed a little bit, but basically the sign you're seeing right here is the entrance sign. It's in an existing frame, and we're just replacing what's there with what you see on the screen. And it's basically a timeline of the history from 1849, well, earlier than that, up to 2023, actually. We have a new beacon in the lighthouse that was put in December, and that was added to this end of this sign. And if you would like, I think there should be a screen with showing you the existing. There we go. At the bottom of that screen, those are the stands for the smaller signs on site, and at the bottom of the screen is the existing entryway sign. And one of the things our designer, Eileen Powers, kept talking about was the need for national park guidelines for the type to be minimum size, which is, I think it's 20 point is the smallest you want to go for readability. And according to her, these signs agree with the standards set by the National Park Service.
Okay, are the sign armatures or the structures that are holding the signs changing in any way, and are the sizes changing in any way?
The sizes are not. No, we're using the existing stands, or actually a better word is armature. We're just gonna unscrew the picture frame that's holding the sign in and swap out with the new signs.
Okay, so we have 6 applications here. I think due to the public visibility and Rob, so we've often used the Sanctity Light sign package that you first put together as the example of what would be well designed signage for a site like this. So kudos to the first planners. Let's see how this survives the review of the redesign.
Right.
So I'm going to start with Ben and then go to Paul and then Kevin. So let's do one sign at a time. We'll start with the entrance sign. Comments may carry over to others, but we'll just look at the entrance sign first, which I believe is the one we're seeing now. So Ben, you've got the floor.
Sure. So I think one thing I appreciate about the existing sign is the background color is a neutral kind of natural tone. So you can see it almost like blends in with the dune behind it, where the new sign is that really heavy blue. So my preference is not to make the background color so unnatural that it doesn't sort of blend in. But as far as the content, that would be fine. But I think that's my only concern, is that these blue billboards are going to really stick out where the neutral tone really blended in quite well.
Okay, thanks. Paul?
I think Ben's comments are interesting. I don't have a preference. I don't think either one is better than the other. This even though this is not tan color like the other one is dark, it's not going to stand out as being terribly different. So I have no comments.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Kevin?
I don't really have any big concerns with this. It would be helpful to kind of get a bigger overview first. I did look at them briefly, and I can't recall off the top of my head if there's color on the other images or not. That's my only concern, is the introduction of 4 color to these signs. I believe all the old ones were sort of sepia tone kind of photographs. But
they do, just to answer your question, they all have the same blue color scheme. Everything that's being proposed is changing over.
I was more thinking about the 4 color images. If there's more of those, like the postcard is on the first one.
Gotcha. Rob, do you want to speak to that as far as
Yes.
looking at overall? I know that the one campus map, so to speak, has multiple colors, but the rest, are they just 2-tone sepia?
No, and actually the original signs were various colors.
Okay.
And I wanted to say that the with the Park Service things, our designer thought that the white type, the lighter type on a darker background is better for reading, apparently. And we've we're putting our readers through a lot to stand there and read everything, but there's so much information to get anyway. So the different contrast between the type and the background is why these are basically flipped. The dark ground being the background being darker. It's a readability attribute.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with that, Rob. I'm just curious about the photographic images, if they're are all being proposed to be full color.
Yes, they are.
And are they bigger than what we see here?
No, they are not. The biggest sign is the entrance sign, which is, as you can see, 30 by 20. I'm sorry, 28. God, I can't remember. And the other ones are smaller to fit in the existing stands. There it is.
Yeah, I don't think I'm making my question clear.
Okay.
So if you could go back to on this full image, there's an image of a 4-color postcard in the upper
Yes.
left-hand side. Are there 4-color images on the other signs that are more
Yes.
or larger than that?
Yeah, I could step in there,
Yes.
Rob. Kevin, looking at the second application in the view pack, which is, what is the content of that one? That's sort of the Sanctity Head Geology sign. They do show a photograph of the existing, which is an entirely right there, 4-color photograph or full, So.
And the new signs have 4-color photographs in them as well, and an occasional chart. It might have been helpful if I put all of the signs on one page for you to see as an introduction.
Okay, let me move over to Ben just to let him weigh in here. Ben, do you have any comments?
No, I have nothing to add.
Okay. Because we've used this as such a great example in the past for other informational signs, I do have the concern about going too colorful, especially when some of the other signs we've asked to follow these guidelines were colorful to begin with, and they kind of came into line based on what we had said the Sanctity Lighthouse had used. What would it be like if we were to see these on sort of a gray? I mean, if the blue was turned into more of a gray background, so you still had the white lettering, I'm just curious if that would be a more muted view and yet readable view for the public. Does anybody have a thought on that? Rob, I'll start with you just to weigh in on that, and then I'll ask the board members for their thoughts.
Yeah, if that's the way we're going, would the lighter blue you see, that sort of gray blue under the Sanctity Head Lighthouse banner, we're just trying to get the contrast enough so that it's. But I could ask our designer that and see how it works.
Let me just ask the board for their thoughts on this, so I'm not speaking alone. Paul, Ben, and then Kevin.
I just pulled up on my other screen here some of the other signs, and I think the 4-color photography really, I mean, there's one I'm looking that's almost all covered in in images. So I think I have a concern with that. I don't mind reversing the type out to white. I think the typography is handled quite elegantly. I just question if we can't get to a photographic solution that's a little bit more that's a little bit more historic looking instead of so contemporary. Yeah, that. I sort of question the amount, like on this, so much of this could be handled with a QR code that people could look at a lot easier than trying to fit everything on the sign. But that's my main concern, is just the amount of four-color, imagery that we're introducing, across the site. That's all for me.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Ben?
I guess I mean I'm not as concerned about all the color photos as Kevin is. I think I'm more concerned of just how the signs blend into the general background of vegetation and natural setting. So back to the question of a darker or more subdued blue, I think that would be helpful. But I'm not opposed to finding a more natural tone that actually blends in with the vegetation. I'm thinking of my 6-year-old son who looks up at these signs, and the sky is the background, so maybe the blue is more appropriate for a very short person. But I think for most of us, we're looking down at these, and I think they're just going to stand out quite a bit with this blue color. So I'm a little worried about that.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
I really don't have any additional comments. I look at this as almost like a museum, and whatever works, works. It's not visible from anywhere else except the person walking up to it. So I really can't comment one way or another.
Okay. I would like to see this, because there's so many nonprofits and locations that would like to have signage like this, and we've always kind of set this as the example. I want to make sure we're careful with it. Personally, I'd like to keep it as subdued as possible. Perhaps maybe some black and white photography to appease Kevin's thoughts, which are valid as well. But what's the pleasure? Would somebody like to make a motion at this time?
I'll make a motion to hold for some revisions.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, thanks. Paul, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Ben?
Aye.
And Kevin?
I'm assuming this is for all of them.
Billy, are you okay? Nikki, are you okay if we make this a blanket motion?
Yeah, I think you could do all 6 as a hold for revisions.
Okay.
Yes.
So yes, to answer your question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Paul?
Aye.
May I make a
Ben,
comment?
yes, Rob.
Thanks. I just want to say that when you're on the site, because the frame, the stands and everything on, they completely blend in, and you really only see them when you're standing up close to them. And that's the focus at the moment, is to be able to read what's on there and to give folks an idea of what's been going on. And so if you would consider that as well, that'd be great. And also sign number 6, which is the Coast Guard sign, which I think we should look at, if you don't mind. It's a completely different sign. We're replacing the old Coast Guard sign, but I'll let you do your thing on the first 5, if you don't mind. Number 6 we should look at. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for pointing that out. And like I said before, not to speak for the board, let's finish our vote. Ben, did you weigh in on your vote for the hold for revisions?
I said aye. Yep.
Okay, thanks. All right, so that is passed. So Rob, we will pull this out, and just to give you the direction, I think what we're trying to say is that we're not opposed to changing the signs and updating them for readability and general content. It's more making sure that they maintain the subdued nature that we've always used as an example. And we've had plenty of other, like I say, applicants come to us that we've used your site as the as sort of the standard to look to. So we have to be careful that we
Yeah,
keep it
okay.
keep it that way. All right. But per your request, we let's pull out sign 6 here and just take a look at it for the Coast Guard station. What is different about this? Can you just give us an introduction? What's changing?
Yes, this was the existing Coast Guard's, the official United States Coast Guard sign that was there, that the Coast Guard had put up in the 60s. And when they did their new housing there, and when the lighthouse was moved, the sign moved with it to be closer to the lighthouse, and it's in terrible shape now. And I had a call from a former commandant of the region's Coast Guard region, and she said, "What is going on with that sign?" So the Coast Guard was, although they appreciated us using the original sign, they were pretty concerned about the condition, and I said that we could probably work with the Wisconsin Trust and the HDC to come up with something new. And there's just it's exactly the same, except the original sign was reflective and this one is not reflective. So
okay, I do see that the material is listed as aluminum,
yes,
which is a concern per the guidelines. Everything needs to be wood. Was the original sign aluminum? Is that why it's being proposed?
yes. The original sign is aluminum, and it's bolted to that I-beam frame that the Coast Guard had put it on originally, and with the wind up there, it needs to be pretty sturdy. And actually, you can see that that frame is a little racked, and that was from a few years of being whipped around by the wind. But hopefully, we'll straighten that out. We're just using the existing frames on all of these things, but especially the Coast Guard one.
Okay,
And
would
as
it
far
be
as-
would it be an option to have this made out of wood and painted just to comply with the island-wide guidelines?
Let me think about that. I guess, huh. And well, it would be interesting because I know you don't want to do plywood, and I don't know what kind of wood we could use. That's, it's a pretty wide sign. And as I say, we're just replacing what's there as the Coast Guard asks us to do. So.
Okay, let me go around the board. Paul, Kevin, and then Ben.
Yeah, I think it'll be perceived as a Coast Guard sign, not a local Wisconsin Trust sign. I think we should approve it as they want to do it. And the aluminum, I don't have any problem with it out there.
Kevin?
I tend to agree with Paul. It's basically, redoing, an existing sign that when it was put in, most likely we didn't have any authority over in the first place. Personally, I don't think it's necessary at all. But it is part of the site and it is part of the history. So I'm not opposed to this.
Okay, Ben.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to this at all. I am almost questioning whether this is something that's just maintenance rather than repair. I question the need for even an application for this. So I have absolutely no concern.
Okay, would somebody with no concern like to make a motion?
Yeah, a motion to approve as submitted. I'll second that.
All right, so we'll is that Kevin making a motion, Ben seconding it?
Sure. Yep. Either way.
Okay, Paul, are
Aye.
you in favor? And Kevin?
Aye.
And Ben?
Aye.
Okay, I'm in favor as well. So For the record, the first 5 applications on this site were held for revisions, and the 6th application was recommended for approval.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could I just get some clarification on the changes you're looking for? I mean, I understand the background blue should be more muted, but as far as the photography goes, I mean,
I think it'll be helpful if in the next, this might not be approved at the next meeting or recommended for approval at the next meeting just because of the sensitivity of the application and the site. But a better way to review would be if we were to see all of the existing signs and the new signs side by side. That would help us for one thing. But it sounds like the concerns are the color scheme, wanting to blend in as well as possible, and the possibly limiting the amount of color photography, because that again is something that's really not, if you read through the guidelines, it's encouraged to be, it's not encouraged at all. In fact, it's specifically recommended against. So that you have some, we understand that, but we want to make sure that we don't increase it. I believe that's what the board's concerns are. So
okay,
reviewing this again would be helpful to see everything side by side. I know that way we can see each sign as it is and as it's being proposed. That would help.
That really part didn't occur to me. I was filling out 6 applications,
Right.
basically the same, and I've got before and afters within each application, but having them all together makes a lot of sense. So
yeah, thank you. And we appreciate your patience with this. Like I say, it's a very sensitive site and it's been used as our example. So
great.
We're going to continue to treat it that way. All right. Thank you, Rob.
Okay.
I was just going to add, it's also something that we address quite frequently with, the NHA when they put their banners up, their existing frames, but we try to get the photography or the imagery to be a little bit more, historic in its tone.
Yeah. Well, in the case of the, let's say the erosion stuff, the historic pictures are in color. So
yeah.
Would muted colors, I mean, to cut down on the saturation be that way, or is that, well, okay, I got you.
Yeah, take the comments back to your designer, and we can't design during the meeting for you, but hopefully we've given you some direction. So thank you, Rob. I'm going to move on to the next item.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. So we have 3 signs at 5 Amelia Drive being proposed. Billy and Nikki, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are replacing existing. All 3 have previous signs approved in these locations. Is that correct? Or I guess I'll turn to the board. In the case of 5 Amelia and Keepers, I think these locations were all used previously.
Yes.
Does anybody have any? Okay.
That's correct, Chris. Sorry, I was mute.
Thanks, Nikki. Okay, great. Matt, are you on the line?
I am.
Okay, great. Do you want to just introduce us to the package here?
Sure. So we're applying for 3 signs, and pretty much the previous locations tried to be mindful of the color scheme. That's basically a white sign with sans serif font. It's got the logo, which does have some color, but beyond that, tried to keep it fairly simple, and I just look forward to comments from the board. If you have any questions, just let me know. Tried to make it as self-explanatory as possible.
All right, let's review this. We'll do one sign at a time. So we're looking at the gable sign facing the street right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Ben, Kevin and then Paul. Ben,
Yeah, I mean, I think, yes, there was a sign in this location before, but the architecture of this building is changing. It looks like you're infilling that porch and making a really handsome front porch with a very nice pent gable right over that front door. So
Yeah.
I'm really hoping one of these other applications has a sign in that gable. Because I think now that that exists, this location for the sign is sort of not within what our guidelines typically want to see. So at the moment, I'm not really in support of this sign, but if I would like to, I'm very much hoping that there's going to be one in that gable over those doors.
I mean, I could answer that through you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, there isn't a plan for that currently. This is what the ownership team was asking for. So, but I can certainly bring that back for them. I mean, I think obviously the location of it where it was, because there was a sign previously, I think that people associate signage in that location. And so that's probably what their thinking was. But
okay, thanks. Yeah, the guidelines do restrict signs in that location. So I think that previously the awning kind of created the problem, whereas this new portico does present a solution. But let's keep going around the horn. Paul, were you next?
Yeah, I agree with Ben that the guidelines call for the sign to be near the door, over the door, and have one up on the second floor is inappropriate. So over the second floor. So
what if we change the sign above the double windows to neon? Would that work? It was a sign joke. I'm just kidding.
Not helping your case.
Kevin, you didn't laugh. Come
I
on.
didn't hear that.
This is being recorded, Matt. You're not
I know.
gonna,
I'm sorry.
have
Just a
that
little
on record
levity.
forever.
Just a little levity.
All right. Kevin?
I agree with what's been said. I also don't think the font is appropriate. I can't think of a case where we've used all lowercase sans serif font. So I have a concern about that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think Parchment is a good example, Matt. If you went down and looked at their sign, you'd see where their logo isn't a sans serif lowercase font, but they were able to just put little serifs in to give it a slight hint of traditional font to comply with the guidelines, and didn't, I think, ruin their marketing scheme. So I agree with the comments. Actually, I think that the sans serif font could be just tweaked a little bit, and the location over the door would be the most appropriate. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Are we looking at just this one?
We're looking at just this one sign at the moment.
Motion to vote for revisions.
I'll second.
Okay, Paul, are you in favor?
I have a question.
Yeah,
Motion
okay.
to approve what?
No, this is not
Revisions.
approved. This is a motion to hold for revisions.
Oh, okay, fine. I second.
And we're talking just about sign number one at the moment.
Okay, I agree.
So, Mr.
Okay.
Chair, so the other
Yes.
signs, are we taking these? Well, I know that there's other
What?
signs in the building. I assume that there's no issues with those other
We're
signage.
going one at a time.
I got
So
you.
Right now,
Okay.
we're just looking at sign number one. Yeah.
All right, got you.
So-
Got you.
Yeah, so sign one is being recommended to hold for revisions. We have Paul in favor. Ben, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Kevin?
Aye.
Okay, I'm as well. So sign one, we'd like to see again. Let's move on to sign two. And this is the number 5 on the gable end. We'll start with Kevin and then go Paul and then Ben.
I don't think it's appropriate. I understand there may have been something there before, but I just don't think it's appropriate. It's it's a large house number, and it's not facing the street or an entrance.
Okay. Paul.
I agree with what Kevin said.
And Ben?
I'll agree. I agree with what Kevin said. Frankly, I mean, not that I spend that much time in Amelia, but I've never seen this sign before driving by or whatever. So I don't know. If you replaced it with this other one, I probably wouldn't notice it either. So I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent.
Yeah, I do recall when this application was approved years ago, because this was when Cinco was in this building.
Oh, wow.
And they were struggling to find signage that was approvable. And they settled on using a house number or building number to sort of represent not only the address but also their business. So that was the history, and this goes back to a long way, probably 10 or more years ago that the sign was in use for Cinco and never came down. Would somebody like to make a recommendation? Oh, Matt, do you have any comments before any motions are made?
No, again, I would just say that, the building obviously is changing a little bit, but, we're trying to maintain the existing signage that was there. And so to maintain some level of continuity, and because it was there, I think it is a very subtle number sign, and it is, some people notice it, some people don't. And, we'd love to keep it, but, here to listen, so.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny due to the fact that it does not meet the guidelines.
Second,
Okay. Ben, are you in favor of that?
We could just leave the existing sign up though, correct?
no.
Already approved.
I don't know about that. I think Billy and Nikki, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not saying we would, I'm just,
Yeah.
My thoughts would be, if there's an approval in the back, it's really hard to tell someone that they're not allowed to have the sign on the building with the approval.
Right. But I guess technically looking at new applications on the building, they could be impacted by existing signage on the building. Correct. In other words, just
I
there's a
think
new sign application.
from a review standpoint, but there's nothing in the bylaw that says changing one sign on a building means all signs need to change.
Correct. I'm just thinking the combination rule. So in other words, if you're asking for other wall signs, that where there is an existing wall sign, technically you have to choose which wall signs you want to keep and which ones you want to replace.
It could definitely have an effect on any new applications. I mean, that's part of the review process, but if they kept that up, there's nothing, if nothing changes, they keep that up and there's an approval in the back, there's no way to bring enforcement upon someone.
Right. So really, Matt, the way I would see it is that this is an approved wall sign, but you're asking for new wall signs. The combination rule would be put up for review, and you would decide which wall signs perhaps you want to use in the long run. Am I speaking correctly there, Billy?
I think
Okay.
Yeah. I think you're suggesting that you would, I don't know. You would, the approval or disapproval of the new sign would potentially be contingent on the agreement of the existing owner to remove an existing approved sign. So you may not approve any new signs unless we agree to remove an approved sign. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying the
it's an
guidelines.
existing sign. So anyways, I hear what you're saying. So, but if you want to deny, I don't think you could deny it. Well, I guess you could. So
we could deny this as a replacement sign. That's really where we're at right now. The motion's on the table to recommend denying approval for this sign to replace the existing sign. That's technically what we're voting on at the moment.
Well,
Kevin.
Yes, that's my motion. However, I'd like to just hold it for a second and ask a question. If the intention is to leave it there, then it would make more sense to me to withdraw the application and not go through either. If you're gonna leave it, why are you applying to change it? That would be my concern, so either way, I guess we should vote on denying it, and if they want to leave it, they can leave it.
Yeah, we're simply asked if this is an approvable replacement. That's all we can recommend, I think. So let's continue with the motion to, let's vote on the motion that this is not an approvable replacement sign. I've lost track of who made the motion, but I'm gonna ask Ben, are you in favor? Okay, thanks.
No,
So no, Ben is not in favor of recommending denial. Paul
Yes,
and Kevin, okay. I am,
Old statement. But thank you.
okay,
I mean, it's
So-
an existing sign. We're trying to make that,
Matt, Chris hasn't voted yet.
Okay.
yeah, I appreciate, I'm actually going to vote in favor of not approving this sign, so that motion would carry, that we recommend denying the sign. And Matt, I think we all understand the nuances of what you're thinking. We're holding for revisions the first sign. You have the opportunity to put a package together if things are going to be changing with your resubmission on the front, sign number 1. Let's move over to sign number 3, just to continue the meeting. And so this is replacing the keeper's takeout sign. Any new information you want to present on this one, Matt?
I think the drawings are self-explanatory. Interesting.
Okay. All right. Why don't we ask Kevin and then Ben and then Paul?
I have no concerns with the location of this. I do have concerns with the topography.
Okay, Ben?
Yeah, I think that the font is still a lingering issue. I hate to sound like a broken record, but that gable end is just dying for a sign. It's kind of unfortunate you'd stick it underneath, but I don't have a problem with that location. It fits well, but I don't know. I could very well see it on that gable pent roof thing too.
If I could, through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, I don't
Matt?
disagree, but I think one of the reasons we've replaced the original location is that the header beam of that pent roof is kind of abnormally high.
Yeah.
I think they may have designed the pent roof around the sign in some way. And I think the thought was that if we didn't put the sign where it was previously and put it in the gable end, which I think normally would make sense, it would make more sense to lower the whole pent roof, which we're not planning to do. So.
Sure. Hey, Chris, I have a question for you. How many signs is this business allowed to have on the building?
Well, it's not a corner condition, so according to the guidelines too.
Okay.
So that's where I was getting at with the combination issue before, is that, Matt, you might want to pick and choose the 2 wall signs that are best suited to the client's needs. But let me get Paul's input on this particular sign.
yeah, I have no problem with this. I'm assuming that the font and so forth and colors are gonna match the one on the front.
Yes.
Sort of a question, yeah.
Okay,
So therefore, I have no problem with this.
okay. No problem with it. The font has been brought up as a concern by 2 other board members. So, Matt, do you want to comment on the thought of perhaps serifing the font?
Yeah, if I could bring it back to the graphic designers with your comments and then see what they come back to you with. So I'd love to be able to see it, present it to the owners, and then work with the graphic designers and then re-present based on their feedback if I could. But I hear what the board's requesting clearly.
Motion to hold for revisions.
Second.
All right, Ben, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Kevin
Aye.
and Paul?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.
Appreciate it. You too.
Yep.
All right, the last signs on our agenda are for the Whaling Museum. Is anybody on the line to represent them? See, Ashley's here.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Ashley. Would you like to introduce us to these signs?
Yes, so these are our annual exhibition banners that we put up outside, vinyl attached to the brackets that we have as opposed to the framing we've done in the past. So this year our exhibit is about Tony Sarg. So for the artwork, we're using a pattern of his from our collection. We went with one that was very Nantucket imagery as opposed to some of his other patterns that are, like circus animals and a little bit more not necessarily Nantucket theme. So the patterns are a little bit different and they will live side by side. So the illustrations do come from one item from our collection though. And then you see the exhibition title on the top. And the bottom just says featured exhibition, I believe. So you see that left and right. So yeah, any questions, happy to answer. But again, we tried to keep it like you mentioned before, Kevin, not using any photography for these, but something that's more an illustration or, obviously a collection item, I think is a way we feel usually really confident in the artwork we use for these, because this is something people will come through our doors and actually see on an exhibit.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. One question before we go around. I see in the application it says vinyl is the material. In the past, I recall canvas has always been requested. Is it the same manufacturer that you've used through the years?
Yeah, this is the same manufacturer we would use. We've always done vinyl just because of obviously weather. So they've always been vinyl banners that basically have the loop end so they can loop through and attach onto the two straight brackets we kind of slide them onto. Again, as opposed to that silver framing we used one year, which I know you guys didn't like very much. So we removed that after 1 year and went back to the just solid brackets that almost are a little bit more hidden once the banners are on it.
Okay. I might just be misremembering, but I always thought canvas was the material of choice there. Let me start with Ben and then Kevin and Paul.
Yeah, I'm happy that they were not looking at photographs of things, and I'm excited to see the exhibit myself this summer. It looks good to me.
Kevin?
Yeah, I think the graphics fine. I don't have a concern with the vinyl as long as it's not a glossy, smooth finish vinyl. If it's a textured, more of a matte finish, to mimic canvas, I'd be okay with that. Those are my comments.
And Paul?
I have no comments. Move approval.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second. Well,
Ben, are you? Oh, yes, Kevin.
I
You're
just
retracting
would
your
like
second.
I would like some clarification about the material before I make a second.
So, Ashley, let me just repeat this. Is it the same manufacturer using the same process as the previous years?
It is the same process. Canvas is certainly something we could look into. It might be a little more expensive. I think this year we want to just go with the manufacturer we have always used, since we're on a tight timeline to get these printed next week. We're going to hit send as soon as I get off this meeting with you guys. So looking into a Canvas one might just set us back a little bit. But so we usually make them more of a matte material, so they're not super shiny or glossy in terms of your point, Kevin. So happy to do that. If that's okay with you guys to stick with the vinyl, as long as it's not glossy and a shiny finish.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we've seen these up for annually for years. So if it's the same material,
Yes.
Kevin, are you satisfied?
Yeah, if you could just add that to your motion, Paul, I'd be happy to second.
All right,
Yeah,
so
so moved.
let me retract the motion. We'll just start a new motion.
All
Paul,
right.
you're making a
Uh,
motion to approve.
Move to approve with muted vinyl or canvas, so that it's not shiny.
Second.
Do we have a second? Thank you, Kevin. Ben, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Paul
Aye.
and Kevin?
Aye.
Okay, I am as well.
All
All right, Ashley, technically,
I
I was gonna say, Ashley, be careful hitting send, because our approval is just a recommendation for approval by the HDC
Okay.
tonight. So you might want to wait till tomorrow just to know that the HDC actually adopts this as an approved application.
Okay, great. And in that case, will I just hear from you guys if they don't approve, essentially? So if I don't hear from you by tomorrow morning, we are good to hit send? Would that be an accurate timeline?
I'll let Billy answer that question.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, great. We're happy. We can hold off till tomorrow morning.
Ashley, if you could hold on just a second. I just want to make a comment. It's unrelated to this application. And I'm not even sure if you're aware of it, but over the past number of months, as far as I can tell, every NHA property has installed a freestanding sign without an application. And rather than us chasing that down, it would be helpful to have a conversation at some point.
Yeah, we're happy to do that. I'll connect with our maintenance team and just see what that might be. And would it be recommended that we then bring them through as a new application? Is that what you're recommending? Depending on what it is?
Yeah, there's a freestanding post, a four-sided freestanding post in front of pretty much every property that went up without an application, and freestanding signs are a pretty sensitive issue. So,
okay, I definitely will connect with our maintenance team and just see about that, and happy to bring an application forward for it.
okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks. And Kevin, just to follow the procedures, if we want to put that in front of the Plus staff, could you send me an email that mentions that, and I'll make sure that that is forwarded on. Just they're asking that enforcement go through the chair, so any kind of a notice, let's just put that on record so that we're not.
Yeah, I did do that at one point. I don't know where it is, but I wasn't mentioning it as an enforcement issue, but just as a comment to the applicant, as long as they were online. And
okay, no, I appreciate that, but
yeah,
I'll ask you, send me that email if you don't mind. So, and actually, I think we're done with the applications for the day, which brings us to enforcement. And so, summarizing what has been made clear by Leslie's request, that any enforcement notices going to Plus, they're asking go through the chair. So I'm happy to forward any emails, and they just want that procedure to be followed. So, well, I guess I should say I will review the emails before I forward them, but please send me any and all information that you would like to have presented to the Plus staff, and I'll make sure that that it gets the review and sent along.
Question.
Nick, yes, Paul.
I sent something in a week or two ago with, I think, 3 sign violations, and then got a notice the next day or something that, oh no, it has to go through the chair and through Leslie. Do I have to resend it? I guess this question
Uh,
is to Nikki. Or to you, Chris.
So Paul, was, I don't believe it, was I on that email? I apologize if I
No.
was and I missed
No,
it.
no, you were
Okay,
not.
so yeah, what they're asking is that according to the town, Nikki, I'll refer to you on this, but can you tell us how the town's procedures works, just so that we're all aware? Nikki or Billy?
I can give just a quick rundown because it's in the town committee handbook. But essentially, I had it pulled up earlier and I apologize, I don't have it up now, but essentially, give me a second. Let me just pull it up because I'd rather do this. You have it
It's in regards to section 7 of the Nantucket Town Committee Handbook that it should come through the chair. I did receive them, Paul. I was actually planning to work on them later this week, but if you could just for procedural purposes, resend it, make sure Leslie's on that email, or send it to Chris and then Chris will forward it to Leslie and he'll copy me as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but I see them. I printed the pictures actually yesterday.
Okay,
So what,
Thank you.
I have a question about what the process is after you receive it. Are you doing courtesy notices? Are you doing it what happens after we send them in?
So after you send them in, it's case by case basis. For some of them, I send out courtesy notices, like the one, I think Paul had sent me one for construction sign, I believe. And I sent them a courtesy notice, and a few days after that, they corrected the issue. So it's just case by case basis. I'll make that determination.
Okay, one of what will this is purely, is in the past we have had a number of repeat violations. My question or my comment is that I guess you should be ready for those, and that sending a courtesy notice to a repeat violator simply does nothing, and a $50 fine does nothing. And if I'm thinking of a number of businesses, particularly a couple on Center Street that put the same thing up year after year after year, and we need to have some sort of basis, I think, for finding them substantially so that it stops. And there's nothing to do about that today, but it'll probably be coming. So something to think about.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Thanks for
Nikki,
that,
the
Kevin.
way
And
that,
I think, oh, go ahead, Chris.
yeah, I was just going to say that, one of the things that we've always tried to take the soft approach at first, so that courtesy notices are sent out. But to Kevin's point, what I'd ask of the board members, if you're sending me a violation and that you want to add a comment that this has been an annual issue or something that we've seen multiple times, include that in the note so that when I forward it, that message is also sent up to the Plus staff, because it is technically a courtesy notice is not required. They could move on to the enforcement if the Plus staff sees that as the best course of action. So let's let them know as much as we can. If it's something you want to include, please do. And for me, I just wanted to point out too, what I'm seeing is a lot of the sandwich boards popping up on the sidewalk, and that's something that I think is contagious. As each business sees somebody else doing it, they feel that they need to keep up. So, Nikki and Billy, that's one area where freestanding signs being so sensitive and sandwich boards on sidewalks being, a particularly unapproved version of freestanding signs. We want to make sure we take care of those as quickly as possible, because like I say, it's contagious. And the next thing you know, we're going to have the sidewalks littered with sandwich boards. So I've already seen a few, and I think you'll be getting an email from us shortly with some of those.
Chris, can I comment? For
Yeah, Billy. Yes, thanks.
And I think you're probably referring to the updated sign list that I had, and I apologize. I had that saved on my own computer when I was doing it. I didn't have it saved in the sort of shared drive, so that was a little mess up on my part. But Sandwich boards are not under our jurisdiction if they're on the public sidewalk. And I have some documentation to back that up that I can share with Nikki. So with sandwich boards, I've done courtesy letters, partly because I can't find someone. Public property is not the HDC's purview, it's private property. So if a sign is located on public property, that's a police matter, not the HDC.
I always thought that the purview was what could be seen from a public way. I don't recall it ever defining what it was where it was mounted.
Well, the purview is a public way, but you know, if you look at the way the bylaw's written, is fines are given to the property owner. So if it's on public property, I'd be fining the town of Nantucket. So
That
a
might be-
courtesy letter sort of.
Nothing wrong with that in my mind. It might get the police to do something.
Well, a courtesy letter kind of instructs them that they need to change it without, you know, going through the steps of trying to fine ourselves here as staff, which it doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
off-premises signage.
Is what you're saying is that
I'm sorry.
Christian forward those issues to the police?
Yes, those issues should be forwarded to the police as well, which staff does. So, you know, it's a combination of courtesy letter and a forward to the police department, because we don't have the jurisdiction to tell someone, get it off the sidewalk. That's the town's sidewalk, not the business owners.
Okay. I have one more enforcement question, and that is, what was the result of the campaign banner that went up on Main Street?
There was no enforcement taken, given the language that's on the town website with freedom of speech. Now, I believe the banner was removed after the article was voted on. So with temporary signs that, you know, with regard to political signage, it's 30 days or less is basically what that's my understanding, is it's 30 days or less. If it's up for 31 days, that's when we could, send a violation notice.
Billy, I replied to that email with some points from the sign book that I thought were valid, suggesting political signage and temporary signage must comply with the guidelines otherwise stated for that type of sign. So I would want to make sure that we consider that, you know, that was a wall sign, it was a vinyl sign, that political signage could be, it was oversized. There were several things about it, I think, that were inappropriate. If we were going to say that just stating a point of view from a freedom of speech point of view can take any form, I think that's just a dangerous precedent to look the other way on.
I would definitely, I know Leslie was copied on that email. I would defer to Leslie in those matters.
Okay.
She, you know, we all work under the plus department here, so we take our cues from Leslie. She has tons of years of experience, and I heavily rely on her guidance.
Okay. I have not received any response from her, so I'll send a follow-up email just so that the board is aware. I don't believe I CC'd the board, and I'm trying to follow procedures, right?
Yeah,
I
mean, I wouldn't
I'm gonna just
CC
be
the
dealing with-
board. That,
Right.
you know, it would be a open meeting law violation. So I know Leslie's away,
Right, so-
and I think she left shortly after you had last emailed with her. So I think she's back the end of this week. But definitely reach out to her again.
Okay.
Technically, even the lawn signs, which are a foam core or a plastic, are not in compliance, and we really haven't chased those down because of that. But that doesn't mean that they're approvable. If there have been candidates that had hand painted wooden signs, so those would be. Anyway,
It may require an opinion from town council. That's why I mean, when it comes to freedom of speech, I can say with certainty that is above my expertise, knowledge, pay grade, all of the above. I don't want to put my name on anything set in stone.
got it.
Anybody have any other enforcement comments?
No, I'm glad it's getting back on the book, so that's very, very helpful and appreciated.
Ben or Paul?
No,
Nothing to add.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. We're looking for
Motion
one
to
more
adjourn.
motion.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Paul, you in favor?
I,
And Ben
Aye.
and Kevin?
Aye.
and
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
everybody.
Bye,
Good day,
everyone.
guys.
Thanks. Ooh.